Hello, BookTube. I've got some new arrivals to show you if you're not so spoiled from all those precious, beautiful gems of vintage age at the Brattle bookshop that you don't want to look at new books with me anymore. I'm assuming that you're willing to condescend to looking at new titles with me. I've got 6 titles I want to show you here. 2 of them I've already read. They are due for paperback reprints soon. I don't know if I actually have pub sheets for either one of them. No, I don't. But they got to me. They're going to get to you in no time at all. And these will be just trade paperbacks. The first one is The Last Brunetti Mystery by Donna Leone. Unto Us a Son is Given. This will be in paperback, I would imagine, either late January or by sometime by the 4th or 5th of February. And this we saw this come to this channel, but let me describe it again just in case you don't remember. Let's see here. When Count Falier urges his Venetian son-in-law detective Guido Brunetti, this is his wife's father, a Venetian count, to investigate the seemingly rash plan of the Count's best friend, the elderly Gonzalo Rodriguez, to adopt a much younger man as his son, Brunetti wonders why the old man couldn't be allowed to enjoy his pleasure in peace. But Gonzalo unexpectedly drops dead on the street, leaving the younger man the heir to his estate, and someone who has questioned the legitimacy of the adoption is killed. So something's going on here. Now, with an urgent case to solve, Brunetti reluctantly untangles the long-hidden mystery in Gonzalo's life that ultimately led to murder, a resolution that brings him more pain than satisfaction. Once again, Donna Leone brilliantly plumbs the twists and turns of human condition, reuniting some of crime fiction's most memorable and enduring characters. And it was this paperback has a blurb from Marilyn Sazio in the New York Times. She loved it. It's hard not to love this series. It's so intelligently done, every single one of them. And this particular story touches on Brunetti's personal life, which is very well done, very realistic, very non-idyllic, and yet wonderful. And it touches on the peace of mind of his wife. It's also got a blurb from the Providence Journal. I have never written for the Providence Journal, and from Booklist. I have never written for Booklist either. And something called the Book Reporter on the front. The front blurb is from something called the Book Reporter. Don't even know what that is. I wonder if they'd have me. Then Book Page, the Seattle Review of Books, the Ashton Gazette, the Tulsa Book Review, Concord Insider, Kirkus Reviews, just tons and tons. Every one of these things gets them and deserves them. It's not autopilot at all. I know it's some long-running murder mysteries. I think the Brunetti series up to in the 20s. I know with some long-running series like that, critics just go into autopilot. Even the author goes into autopilot, but not in this case. These are wonderful. And then this other one was an odd book. I know we saw it on this channel, at least an advanced copy, maybe in a finished copy. I read it. I don't think I reviewed it, but I really liked it, and it's also stuck in my mind. This is by Sharma Shields, and it's called The Cassandra. And this is the $16 paperback that comes out. Probably it's out already, or it's out very soon. Mildred Groves is an unusual young woman, gifted and cursed with the ability to see the future, hence the title. Mildred runs away from home to become secretary at the Hanford Research Center, a construction camp in south central Washington, which exists to test a mysterious product that will aid the war effort, World War II. Only the top generals and scientists know that this product is in fact processed plutonium for use in the first atomic bombs. Mildred is delighted to be part of something bigger than herself after a lifetime spent as an outsider, but as the men she works for hone their mission, she starts to have prophetic nightmares and she is forced to act. A timely novel about patriarchy and militancy, the Cassandra looks deep into man's capacity for destruction and resolve and compassion it takes to challenge the powerful. I think at least from my perspective, the back of the jacket copy that you're going to flip this over and look at in the bookstore goes a little off the rails. That mention of patriarchy. This is at least in my memory. I will reread the book now that I have the trade paperback. But in my memory is that is buzzword pandering, and that the book is actually far more serious than that. Interested in far more interesting things than that. So we'll have to see. This has blurbs from Nylon and the Millions. Has a front page blurb, front cover above the title blurb by Daniel Krauss in the New York Times Book Review, and lots of others. Electric Literature, the Historical Review, Tor.com, NPR, Washington Book Review, New York Journal of Books, Book List, Kirkus, Publishers Weekly. Just loaded with positive, and I can sort of see that because it's kind of sticking in my memory as well. I'm going to look forward to rereading it, definitely. I might reread the Donna Leone as well. It won't take long, and they're so much fun to revisit. Then we'll do 4 books that are upcoming, each in a different month, each looking further and further ahead into the future. I have not read any of these, but they all sound interesting. This first one is YA. It's by Carrie Mack, and it's called Wildfire. It's about 2 lifelong young friends who may be on the cusp of becoming more than that. Let's see. This comes out, on the date for it is January 28th, so the last week of the month. And it's a tense outdoor adventure. Annie and Pete have been best friends since they were little. They know each other better than anyone, and they've been on more adventures than they can count. They even have a notebook filled with all the times they've almost died. But they always survive because together they're invincible. And they've always been just friends, but lately Annie has been thinking that maybe friendship is just the beginning, and she's been mentally replaying all the times they were almost something more. Now they're heading out on their next great quest, a 10-day backpacking trip through the mountains of Washington State, ending at Fire Camp, where they'll learn to fight the area's growing wildfire problem. The woods spark with the promise of adventure, but a freak climbing accident interrupts their progress, and as the wildfire closes in, Annie and Pete wander farther from the trail. Carrie Mack's gripping story of the power of unrequited love and the danger of the elements is harrowing, beautiful, and unforgettable. And we'll just have to see. It sounds like, I opened this at random. I wish that I could find the spot again. I opened this at random. Earlier today, and was struck by the writing that I saw. I'd never be able to find the spot now. Oh, that's too bad. The important thing is I really liked it. I liked the writing that I saw. Now I'm kind of bound and determined to find that spot, and that's not a good use of time on this video. It was a moment when Pete is injured, and we see his injury. And it's really well done. The moment was really well done. It was oh, here we go. I found it. I see the wound and gasp. This is the part that's being narrated by Annie. I see the wound and gasp. The cut is oozing, a viscous, cloudy fluid, and it's puffed up and bruised all around like a sea anemone, as if it would tighten around my finger if I were to poke it. You need to look at this, Pete. I let my hand hover over the wound, and the heat coming off it warms my palm. You need to understand how bad it is. He wedges himself up on his elbows, but he still can't really see it, so I lift his leg, and he screams, so I put it down as gently as I can. His whole calf is hot and swollen, too. He sits up straighter. I can tell when his eyes land on it because he becomes very, very still, as if the leg were something that might bolt away on its own if he startled it. That's really good. That is really good. The very wise, unforced repetition of gently there. That is good writing. So I'm hoping that the whole book is like that. Always up for a good YA novel. Then this next one, let me see what this next one is. We're going further ahead. So Wildfire comes out in February. Then this next one comes out in late April. And this is by Lis Wiehl, Lis space Wiehl. I don't know how to pronounce either one of those words. And this is Hunting the Unabomber. for fans of true crime, investigative journalists, and narrative history. This is a new account of the capture of the father of modern-day terrorism, Theodore Kaczynski. The author's second volume in the popular Hunting series finally sets the record straight about the longest and most expensive FBI hunt in U.S. history. The author tells the story of the reclusive killer from an unprecedented and original viewpoint, that of an FBI agent who was at the scene of the capture in the cabin in Montana, and an active participant throughout all the years of the perplexing and challenging investigation. The untold story, Hunting the Unabomber, brings the author's trademark legal expertise, riveting writing, and thorough investigative journalism to uncover facts the public never knew, and in doing so chronicles the real story of the murderer Ted Kaczynski. I read all about this when it was happening, but I'm gladly reading it. I'll gladly read a new account, especially from someone who seems like a true crime expert. Then we move on to May. This is a big historical novel coming out in May, and it has echoes of the Cassandra. I'm just realizing. I wasn't chosen for that, but still, this is by Stephen Kiernan, and this is The Universe of Two. Very nice cover. Not that hard to do. See, American publishers? Not that hard to do. It's not hard to make an attractive cover. This is a good one. Nice and simple. So what have we got here? Stephen Kiernan is a graduate of Middlebury College, Johns Hopkins University, and the University of Iowa Writers' Workshop. Good Lord. He spent more than 20 years as a journalist, winning numerous awards before turning to fiction writing. He's the author of the novels The Curiosity, The Hummingbird, The Baker's Secret, and he lives in Vermont for his many sins. The story here is, graduating from Harvard at the height of World War II, brilliant mathematician Charlie Fish is assigned to the Manhattan Project. Working with some of the age's greatest scientific minds, including Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and Leo Szilard, Charlie is assigned the task of designing and building the detonator of the atomic bomb. As he performs that work, Charlie suffers a crisis of conscience. As well he should. As well he should. The minute he knows what he's doing, he should leave. Which his wife, Brenda, unaware of the true nature of Charlie's top-secret task, mistakes as self-doubt. She urges him to set aside his qualms and continue. So she's urging him to continue doing something without knowing what it is that she's urging him to continue doing. Once the bombs strike Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the feeling of culpability devastates him and Brenda. At the war's end, Charlie receives a scholarship to pursue a PhD in physics at Stanford, an opportunity he and Brenda hope will allow them a fresh start. But the past proves inescapable. All any of his new colleagues can talk about is the bomb, and what greater atomic weapon might be on the horizon. Haunted by guilt, Charlie and Brenda leave Stanford and decide to dedicate the rest of their lives to making amends for the evil he helped birth into the world. Based on the life of actual mathematician Charles B. Fisk. Did we say Fish? No, Fish. Okay. But the real person is Charles B. Fisk. Universe of Two combines riveting historical drama with poignant love story. Okay. Great. So that I'm not going to read it anytime soon, but it is coming up, and it did strike my eye because it seems good. And then this last one is a type of novel that I admit appeals to some people more than it does me. The mental puzzle novel, whether it's a straight up murder mystery or a historical novel or something like that, just it doesn't work on me in quite the way that I know that it's supposed to. Ian Pears' great novel Academia, or Arcadia, pleased me most when it was being least puzzle boxy. And I know that that's a minority opinion. Most people loved the puzzle box aspects of that book. Or Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. I know, of course, those of you who follow Jason Harrigan's channel, Byways in Bookland, will know that Foucault's Pendulum is all one big puzzle. But even in The Name of the Rose, his more accessible historical novel, there is a kind of puzzle box thing happening at the center. Where is this hidden place in a monastery? And what is its actual physical location to the puzzle of the diagram of the building? But even so, my ambivalence about such books comes from the fact that a lot of times authors who are spending all of that mental wattage coming up with the puzzle box will forget to write dramatic prose, and I'm hoping that's not the case here, because this is definitely one of those kinds of books. I wonder if I have it. Oh, I do. Okay, I have a sheet for it. This is by Alex Landdragon, and it's called Crossings. And when you open it up, I don't know if the finished copy will be like this. When you open it up, you have numbers in sequence. That is a dead giveaway for a puzzle box novel. You have numbers in sequence. And this has sort of nested narratives that will allow the reader to all kinds of opportunities to go crisscrossing all over. Let me read you about it here. This is Alex Landdragon's first novel, and it presents a series of 3 interconnected stories recounted by a Parisian bookbinder who is tasked by his patron, a wealthy baroness, to bind a manuscript in the most spectacular of materials. When no one comes to collect the finished product and the baroness is found dead, he reads the astonishing text. The first section is a ghost story written perhaps by Baudelaire. The next, a noir romance featuring literary critic Walter Benjamin, set in Paris and on the brink of World War II. And the last, a fantastical journey of a woman whose life spans 7 generations. But the narrative premise is not the only draw. Landdragon has designed his book as a puzzle to be read in 2 directions, conventionally or in an alternate chapter sequence which he terms the Baroness style, after the book's one-time owner, which sends the reader hopping through time. And I can guarantee you that there's a third way to read this book that's buried in the other 2. I can guarantee it. Clever pants authors like this always do something like that. Disorienting at first, since we are conditioned to go from the beginning to the end, once acclimated, readers will quickly find themselves racing with anticipation and gathering excitement as they turn from page 157 to page 53, and then back to page 1, and then to page 175, caught up in an epic story and otherworldly yet grounded and authentic in its emotion. That's the part that I worry about. Is there an actual story here that is grounded in emotion? If that's true, then I'm perfectly willing to test my brain on the intellectual hijinks of the author. If it's not, I'm going to run out of patience pretty quick, and we will see. We will see. I can't help but shake the idea that this is much more Jason's line of country than mine. But this comes out in late July, and that is the last of our new arrivals for today. So we have Crossings, Alex Landdragon's fiction debut, a puzzle novel. Many different ways to read it. I guarantee more than 2. Then Universe of 2, a novel about the atomic bomb and the psychological pressures of the people who were involved in it, if they had the good graces to feel any of those pressures. Some of them didn't. Then Hunting the Unabomber, a new history of a notorious case in American history that I'm always up to read a new history of it. Then Wildfire by Carrie Mack. 2 friends hiking in the middle of nowhere. Then The Cassandra by Sharma Shields. This is coming out in paperback. And it stuck with me. I do recommend it. I'm going to be reading it again, see what further impressions I get. And finally, Unto Us a Son is Given. The last Brunetti murder mystery. The next one, Trace Elements, comes out next month, I think. Didn't we say February? Trace Elements comes out soon. So this is the last one out in paperback. And that is your new arrivals for today. I know it's no old N.C. Wyeth illustrated Robert Louis Stevenson from the Brattle, but not every day can be a Brattle day, right? So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.